For 10,000 years, the Emperor's Inquisition have fought a secret war to defend humanity. We keep vigil in the darkness. We hunt among the shadows. We pass judgment upon the mutant, the traitor, and the heretic. We purge the world of the taint lurking among the stars. We are Inquisitors. We shall fear nothing. For we are what you fear.
There are powers within the Imperium that march beneath banners, legions that hold the line against the abyss, and saints whose names are sung from hive to hive. But above them all, silent, formless and feared, looms a force without peer. One that answers to no lord, no creed and no law, but that of the Emperor himself. This is the Inquisition. The black sinew binding the Imperium's shattered bones, the blade that strikes before the rot can spread, and the eye that watches when no one else dares to look. Ostensibly, the Inquisition exists outside the rigid hierarchy of the Imperium. It claims no territory, commands no legions of its own, yet no one within the Adeptus Terra, not even the High Lords, would dare to obstruct its agents. Its reach is total. It moves unseen through the administrative arteries of the galaxy, whispering into the ears of planetary governors, cardinal commanders, road traders, and even chapter masters of the Adeptus Astartes. Few understand how far its influence truly stretches. Fewer still would survive the asking. Its agents are not soldiers or politicians, they are inquisitors, unflinching, unyielding, and unequaled. They are the final authority, judge and executioner, whose word can doom a man, a world, or a system. They wage a quiet war on every front imaginable, against the demonic infestations of the warp, the slow rot of heresy, the machinations of alien empires, and the treacheries born within the hearts of mankind. They are the last line of defense in a galaxy that has long since gone mad. The Inquisition operates under no pretense of unity. Even among its own, there is no peace. Its members are powerful, opinionated, and often violently opposed in ideology. Factional warfare, sabotage, and assassination between Inquisitors is not uncommon. They are not saints, they are survivors of endless trials, bearers of secrets no sane man should know, and wielders of powers that make even Imperial nobility step lightly. They do not ask for permission, nor seek consensus. They simply act. He who allows the alien to live shares in the crime of its existence. The true origins of the Inquisition lie buried beneath the ash of civil war, in the dying days of the Horus Heresy, when the Emperor was entombed upon the Golden Throne and the Imperium teetered on the edge of extinction. The responsibility for preserving mankind fell to one man, Malcador the Sigillite. As the Emperor's most trusted confidant and the de facto regent of Terra, Malcador foresaw a need for a secret order, one that could watch the watchers and act where others could not. He gathered 12 individuals of exceptional loyalty and an inquisitive nature. 4 were high-ranking imperial bureaucrats, 8 were Astartes drawn from both loyal and redeemed traitor legions. These 12 formed the earliest Proto-Inquisition, and from their ranks would also rise the Grey Knights, the secret weapon against the war. In those early days, there were no ordos, no structure, only purpose. The first Inquisitors waged a clandestine war against the forces of chaos, quietly eliminating cults, sorcerers, and even loyal officials compromised by the ruinous powers. Their authority was derived not from titles, but from necessity. It was understood. They acted in the Emperor's name, and that was enough. As centuries passed, the threats facing the Imperium multiplied. The once unified Inquisition fractured into specialized arms, each tasked with confronting the galaxy's ever-changing horrors. In the 32nd millennium, during the aftermath of the War of the Beast, an apocalyptic Xenos invasion that nearly shattered Imperial space, the Inquisition was formally divided. The Ordo Malleus, or Order of the Hammer, retained the original mandate, the destruction of demons and those who collaborated with them. To assist in this unholy duty, they were given the Grey Knights, genetically engineered, psychically potent space marines, incorruptible by chaos. Alongside them rose the Ordos Minoris, created to meet the accelerating threat of alien empires. With the Necron awakening still unknown and the rising threat of Eldar manipulations and Orc incursions, it became clear that Xenos dangers required a dedicated arm. Their chamber militant became the Death Watch, an elite force drawn from the most veteran Astartes of dozens of chapters, operating in kill teams with a singular goal: destroy the aliens, no matter the cost. Centuries later, in the 36th millennium, the Imperium descended once more into blood and madness. During the Age of Apostasy and the tyranny of Goj Vandir, a time of religious mania, internal war and systemic corruption, the Inquisition was forced to look inward. Thus was born the Ordo Hereticus, tasked with rooting out heresy, rogue psychers, and treason within the very institutions of the Imperium. Their sword was the Adeptus Auroritas, specifically the Orders Militant, fanatical, fire-wielding warrior nuns whose purity and piety were beyond reproach. This trinity, the Ordo Malleus, Ordo Minoris, and Ordo Hereticus, would come to be known as the Ordos Minoris, the central pillars of the Inquisition. But they are not alone. Beyond the major orders exist countless Ordos Minoris, smaller, specialized inquisitorial branches dedicated to particular threats. Some operate only for a century before being folded back into the shadows. Others endure for millennia. These Minoris Ordos reflect the adaptive nature of the Inquisition, its ability to evolve alongside the threats it was created to face. The true scale of the Inquisition's actions is deliberately hidden. Archives are altered or sealed. Witnesses are mind-wiped or quietly eliminated. Entire populations may vanish without explanation, their histories revised to maintain the facade of control. Even the Administratum rarely records inquisitorial interventions, and if they do, it is in euphemisms in code, unofficial pacification, unauthorized restructuring, or simply redacted. There are events throughout Imperial history, catastrophes avoided, uprisings quelled, crusades launched that bear the silent fingerprints of the Inquisition. The Nova Terra Interregnum, the beheading, the countless unnamed calamities. Behind each lies the unseen hand of those who act without recognition, without reward, and often without remorse. To truly comprehend the Inquisition is to understand that it is not a structured institution, but a doctrine of action. It is a weapon forged from paranoia and purpose, tempered in war and wielded by those willing to pay any price for humanity's survival. I am 42 standard years old, in my prime by Imperial standards, young by those of the Inquisition. All my life I have had a reputation for being cold, unfeeling. Some have called me heartless, ruthless, even cruel. I am not. I am not beyond emotional response or compassion, but I possess, and my masters count this as perhaps my paramount virtue, a singular force of will. Throughout my career, it has served me well to draw on this facility and steel myself, unflinching at all that this wretched galaxy can throw at me. To feel pain or fear or grief is to allow myself a luxury I cannot afford. At the heart of the Inquisition lies the Inquisitor, not one among many, but each their own authority. There is no formal chain of command, no manual of protocol, no high administrator in an ivory tower sending out missives. Each Inquisitor acts alone, with the full authority of the Emperor himself. Their mission, to identify, confront, and annihilate the threats that gnaw at humanity's soul. Demons, heresy, Xenos corruption, and worse. In a galaxy paralyzed by ritual and bound by inertia, the Inquisition alone has the freedom to act. But this freedom is not unchecked power, it is a burden. For while they may wield the Emperor's authority, they are not his equals. They are mortals with mandates, and their actions, however secretive, ripple through the web of the Imperium. An Inquisitor does not merely investigate, they intervene, incite and shape history in the shadows, and, when needed, burn entire worlds to preserve the whole. Unlike other institutions of the Imperium, the Inquisition operates outside the rigid chains of command. An Inquisitor needs no permission to act. They answer only to the Emperor, and even then, what that means depends entirely on the Inquisitor. Inquisitors are polymaths, executioners, and theologians. They are spies, warriors, and philosophers. Some walk in plain sight, rosette polished, retinues assembled. Others work from the shadows, nameless, manipulating planetary governors like pieces on a regicide board. Most are all of these things, and from this formless mass of ideology and purpose, the Ordos of the Inquisition emerged as declarations of intent. An Ordo is not an assignment, it is an alignment. It reflects an Inquisitor's chosen field of study, their philosophical focus, and often their personal obsession. The three great pillars of this system are the Ordos Minoris, Ordo Malleus, Ordo Xenos, and Ordo Hereticus. To say one belongs to an Ordo is to say only this. This is the enemy I've sworn to face. The Ordo Malleus, the Order of the Hammer, is the oldest and most secretive. Formed initially to monitor the Inquisition itself, it became the Imperium's principal line of defense against demonic incursion. Its agents are demon hunters, Inquisitors who study, bind, and destroy creatures of the warp. Their minds are tempered by ritual, scarred by knowledge, and fortified against corruption. When battle calls, they summon their chamber militant, the Grey Knights, space marines bred for exorcism. If the Malleus looks inward and beyond, then the Ordo Xenos looks outward. These Inquisitors confront the alien threat in all its horrific variety. Tyranids, Necrons, Eldar, Drakari, Orcs, and countless others that do not yet have names in Imperial archives. Many of these agents spend years in exile or disguise, cultivating information networks, brokering with rogue traders, or scandalously parlaying with Xenos themselves. But make no mistake, they are executioners, not diplomats. The Ordo Xenos has exterminated more alien species than the Death Watch could name. Speaking of which, the Death Watch is their sword, Space Marine veterans from across the Imperium. The Ordo Hereticus turns its gaze inward. It watches mankind itself for signs of corruption, mutation, heresy, and rebellion. They are the witch hunters, rooting out rogue psychers, deviants, and traitors within the very institutions of the Imperium. Ecclesiarchs, generals, nobles, none are safe. Their chamber militant is the Adeptus Sororitas, specifically the fanatical Orders militant of the Sisters of Battle. These warrior nuns are zealous, unyielding, and utterly immune to corruption. When the Hereticus acts, the Sisters follow, and entire sectors burn. Beyond these lie the Ordos Minoris, who monitor niche threats, emergent phenomena, or internal decay. Some are born from ideological schisms, others from necessity. There is the Ordo Chronos, which vanish while studying warp-related time anomalies. The Ordo Hydra, formed from the Illuminati, sought to forge a human hive mind to defeat chaos until Jacques Draco destroyed them. The Ordo Mechanicum keeps a wary eye on the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Ordo Militum monitors the Militarum. The Ordo Sepulchrum was formed to combat the undead plagues of Nurgle during the 13th Black Crusade. There is even the Ordo Scriptorum, whose job is to read between the lines of bureaucratic communiques for heretical deviation. Some Ordos are myth, like the Redactors, who erase history itself, or the Obsoletus, which investigates miracles. And yet, for all this compartmentalization, Inquisitors move freely. One may begin in the Ordo Xenos and later turn to the Hereticus. Another may reject the concept entirely. The threats they face are rarely so cleanly labeled. A single outbreak may involve psychic heresy, Xenos biotech, and demonic possession. The experienced Inquisitor knows no enemy is ever just one thing. But if the Ordos represent purpose, then ideology represents method. And within every Ordo, the true divide runs not across disciplines, but doctrine. At the heart of the Inquisition's internal strife lies the conflict between Puritans and radicals. These are not official titles. No Inquisitor calls themselves radical, but the labels are used nonetheless, and they define the Inquisition's greatest civil wars. Puritans believe in absolute moral clarity. To use the weapons of the enemy is to become them. They reject sorcery, Xenos technology, forbidden texts, anything that might taint the soul. To them, heresy cannot be studied, only destroyed. Radicals disagree. They believe that survival requires compromise. A demon blade, properly wielded, may save a system. A Xenos alliance may prevent a Tyranid invasion. A mind wipe may preserve a vital asset. To the Puritan, these are excuses. To the radical, they are strategy. Neither side is entirely wrong, and both are willing to kill to prove their point. The result is a paradox. An Inquisitor may operate with unlimited authority, yet still be hunted by their peers. Disputes may erupt into vendettas, secret wars fought in shadows with assassination, sabotage, and extermination. When diplomacy fails, a conclave may be called, where a group of Inquisitors will gather, examine the evidence, and make a collective judgment. But not all judgments require consensus. Sometimes an Inquisitor acts alone, and when they do, there is no court to stop them. The full might of the Inquisition includes its most feared power, the right to call exterminatus. The dreaded term exterminatus is often misunderstood. It is not a declaration of war, but an admission of failure. Failure to contain, failure to reason, failure to purify. When a world is deemed irredeemably tainted by chaos, by Xenos infestation, or heretical dogma, it is destroyed. For an Inquisitor to invoke exterminatus is to commit a sin of mercy, to destroy billions so that trillions might live. That is the scale at which they operate, and once the command is given, there is no debate. Orbital bombardment, viral bombs, cyclonic torpedoes, whatever it takes to sterilize the surface. Such authority is both terrifying and fragile. Though no one beneath them can overrule an Inquisitor, the Inquisition does not operate in a vacuum. Planetary governors, high lords, chapter masters, and archmagi all carry their own brands of power. Relationships are delicate. Misjudging a situation, accusing the wrong general, insulting the wrong magos, or overreaching in a politically protected system can see an Inquisitor isolated, or worse, targeted by their own. The Inquisition polices itself. Only an Inquisitor may challenge an Inquisitor, and when they do, it can escalate into tribunals, conclaves, or even war within their own ranks. For this reason, secrecy often becomes the only shield. Inquisitors frequently invoke special condition, erasing themselves from Imperial records. Their names are struck from rosters, their teams are listed as deceased. They move in utter darkness, reporting to no one save their own judgment. The legendary Eisenhorn and Ravenor conduct entire campaigns under such conditions, fighting battles no history will ever record, precisely because those battles, if known, would unravel the faith of billions. But not every operation can be silent. When Inquisitors must act openly, when a world must be warned or a military command dissuade, they reveal a most potent weapon, the inquisitorial seal. It might be a rosette, a signet ring, or a locket, but its meaning is universal. To see it is to understand that resistance is futile. The bearer speaks with the authority of mankind's last and only defense. Doors open, commands are obeyed, and if they are not, there is only fire. Even the Adeptus Astartes are not exempt from the gaze of Inquisitors. Entire chapters have been declared traitors and destroyed. Some flee into the Maelstrom or Eye of Terror, where they become what the Inquisition feared. Others, like the Soul Drinkers, continue to fight in the Emperor's name even after being cast out, pariahs to all, loyal only to their own code. The Inquisition also controls who knows. For 10,000 years it has enforced a brutal doctrine of secrecy. The existence of chaos, of demons, of the warped sentient horrors was a guarded truth. Only Inquisitors, certain psychers, and a select few chapters of the Astartes were permitted such knowledge. Entire populations were executed for seeing too much. Libraries were burned and soldiers have had their minds wiped, because to know of chaos is to risk being claimed by it. But with the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the galaxy itself tore open. Demons now walk openly. Secrets cannot be buried beneath ash when the sky itself screams. The old policies of denial are no longer viable. The Inquisition has been forced to adapt. The truth must now be wielded carefully, not hidden, and even then, the cost is dear. The demonic are without number, and their legions span the galaxy, but faith does not tire. Should it take us an eternity, the Ordo Malleus will find and exterminate them all.
Armored in faith, shielded by devotion, armed with purity of purpose. The Emperor's will made manifest. We are the warriors of the Grey Knights, demon hunters. Chaos cannot stand against us. For we are the Hammer.
The Inquisition does not possess a central command, a unified dogma, or a codified structure. Instead, it is a confederation of autonomous authorities bound by shared purpose to identify and annihilate the enemies of mankind. It exists across the Imperium as a self-regulating and self-defining institution, where power is exercised through precedent, reputation, and unflinching resolve. It is not bureaucracy that governs this body, but conviction. Every Inquisitor, whether newly elevated or ancient beyond reckoning, wields the full authority of the Emperor. No higher office issues commands, no superior delivers orders. There is no master to whom they must answer, only the consequences of their actions and the scrutiny of their peers. In this way, the Inquisition is paradoxical, both decentralized and omnipresent, formless yet feared. It is less a system than it is a doctrine, one carried forward by singular agents, operating in isolation, pursuing agendas they alone deem essential. Yet even in this boundless freedom, structure manifests with Inquisitors affiliating themselves with a particular Ordos, broad ideological and operational groupings. These alignments determine focus. They grant access to specific resources, archives and contracts, but impose no obligations. Despite its decentralization, the Inquisition is not immune to fragmentation. The scale of the Imperium ensures that many Inquisitors operate for decades or even centuries without encountering a peer. In remote sectors, some cells have evolved into quasi-independent institutions, developing their own dogmas, customs, and even goals. While some become invaluable bulwarks against unseen threats, others descend into heresy, delusion, or madness. To guard against such splintering, the Inquisition maintains mechanisms of contact and accountability, foremost among them the Conclave. A conclave is not a ruling council, but a gathering of Inquisitors summoned to deliberate, strategize, or adjudicate. They may be as small as a warbound of 4, or as vast as a high conclave spanning multiple sectors. Attendance is never guaranteed. Travel in the Imperium is unpredictable and slow. Warp storms, bureaucratic interference, and assassination attempts often mean that conclaves assemble in phases, their discussions occurring in fragments, sometimes across years. Still, conclaves serve as vital nodes of communication, where knowledge is exchanged, alliances are forged, and ideological lines are drawn. Most conclaves fall into two types, functional and factional. Functional conclaves transcend ideology and respond to pressing threats, Tyranid invasions, demonic outbreaks, emergent heresies. These are practical affairs, brief, brutal, and action-oriented. Factional conclaves are more insular, gatherings of Inquisitors who share a philosophical framework, such as the Thorians, Amalathians, or Monodominants. These conclaves debate doctrine, divine interpretation, and future policy. While no conclave holds legislative power, their consensus can wield tremendous influence. And when judgment must be passed upon one of their own, it is a conclave that does so. In the absence of hierarchy, the Inquisition is self-policing. Only a fellow Inquisitor may accuse, and only a conclave may render judgment. These trial conclaves often convened in secret, sometimes in grand halls, watched by proxy and servo skulls serve as the crucible of justice. Punishments may range from surveillance and censure to mind wipe, execution, or the gravest sentence, excommunicate traitores. With these words, an inquisitor is severed from the Imperium, marked for immediate elimination by their peers. It is a death sentence often carried out with zealous urgency, as any delay risks the spread of corruption or heresy. Inquisitors do not always operate alone. While they possess absolute individual authority, most maintain retinues, hand-picked warbands tailored to the threats they face. These may include acolytes and interrogators in training, psychic sensitives, chirurgeons, cybernetic familiars, sanctioned assassins, and even untouchables, those rare immune to the warp. A retinue is not just manpower, it is a reflection of the Inquisitor's methodology and an extension of the Inquisitor's mind, enforcing their will in a galaxy hostile to clarity. Larger assemblies may form in response to specific threats. Cells and cabals, informal or semi-formal networks of inquisitors emerge during crises, operating across sectors, sharing data, and coordinating assaults. The Tyrantine Cabal, for instance, was created to monitor the arcane and malevolent Tyrant Star in the Calaxis sector. These groups often exist in the shadows, communicating through ciphered language, encoded symbols, or shared relics. Their members may never meet face-to-face, but they act with a singular purpose. While often mistaken as political factions, most cabals are operational alliances, disbanding once their objective is complete, or escalating into something more enduring if the threat demands it. These agents are the Inquisition's unseen eyes and hands, embedded in planetary governments, cults, and sometimes within other branches of the Imperium itself. It is through them that the Inquisition truly operates, not as a blunt hammer but as a web of pressure points. If the threat is small, a cell may be dispatched to eliminate it before anyone notices. If it festers, the Inquisitor may arrive personally, and if the rot is spread beyond salvation, then the hammer falls. Within this swirling mass of authority and autonomy, some Inquisitors rise above their peers by reputation. These are the Inquisitor Lords, individuals whose influence spans sectors, whose experience commands respect, and whose decisions shape the policy of entire Ordos. The title is not earned through application or tenure, but by consensus. A sitting lord nominates, 2 others approve. A conclave may vet the candidate, scrutinizing past judgments, alliances, and methods. There is no formal ceremony. Recognition is often implied, confirmed by the doors it opens and the respect it commands. A Lord Inquisitor does not outrank a junior Inquisitor in authority, but in practice they are afforded deference. Their words carry the weight of precedent. Their recommendations can end careers or elevate them. In regions where an ordo is well established, a lord may be granted the title of master, overseeing coordination among local peers. In rarer cases, a Grand Master may be appointed, such as in the Helican subsector, where a Grand Master presides over the Ordo's Helican conclave, advised by 3 masters, 1 from each majoris. These designations are practical, not political, meant to facilitate cooperation, not enforce command. Above all sits a singular figure, the inquisitorial representative to the Senatorum Imperialis. This seat, granted to the Inquisition within the High Lords of Terror, functions as the official voice of the Inquisition at the Imperium's highest table. It is not a seat of power, but of presence. The representative is chosen from among the lords active near Terra, typically for a 5-year term, though few serve the full duration. The politics of the High Lords are stagnant and labyrinthine, and most Inquisitors quickly find the atmosphere repugnant. Yet the role is essential. The representative ensures that the Inquisition's will is heard, whether in response to emerging threats, in the sanctioning of exterminatus, or in subtle reminders to fellow High Lords that the Inquisition is always watching. This role does not control the Inquisition, it reflects it, a tool of diplomacy, coercion, and quiet threat. When the Inquisition speaks through the High Lords, entire administrative offices shudder. Military campaigns pivot, resources reallocate, and secrets long buried are suddenly remembered. The history of the Inquisition proves what happens when it is absent. During the Age of Apostasy, Goge Vandai rose to dominate the Imperium unchecked. It was the Inquisition that ultimately brought him down. So while the Inquisition may lack a formal chain of command, it does not lack for order. Its cohesion is one of necessity, its hierarchy one of earned authority, its power one of perception. It is an institution of individuals who share nothing but a cause, and it is that cause which binds them. The eternal vigilance for threats beyond comprehension, and the cold will to destroy them before they consume mankind. I carry with me an inquisitorial seal. It is a small, unassuming object contained in a neat box of Pluvian obsidian. It is a modest thing, relatively plain, adorned with a single motif and a simple motto. Yet with this little object I can sign the death warrant of an entire world and consign 1 billion souls to oblivion.
For centuries I have felt their coming. Shrouded in vanity, they believed themselves obscured. Free to wage their covert war upon the pure and the righteous. Even now, they gird their souls with contempt, stalking their prey with a morbid pride. But they do not see the reckoning I have prepared for them. For their crimes, they will pay with most holy sacrifice. For the grandfather's truths cannot be denied.
To the layman, the Inquisition appears as a singular and monolithic entity, incorruptible, omnipotent, and terrifying, a vast unified force that moves in the darkness of the Imperium, rooting out heresy and eliminating threats to mankind with absolute authority. But this image is, at best, a comforting illusion, at worst, a dangerous misunderstanding. In truth, the Inquisition is anything but unified. Behind the mask of shared purpose lies a roiling tempest of conflicting ideologies, rival doctrines, and philosophical schisms. These divisions, known as factions, run deeper than mere disagreement. They represent entirely different worldviews about how to preserve the Imperium of man and serve the Emperor's will. Some burn with zealotry, others with cold pragmatism. Some cling to orthodoxy like a drowning man to a rock, while others reach into the abyss, believing salvation may yet lie within it. These factions form the hidden latticework of the Inquisition's internal culture, and they are united, if anyone can call it that, by one fundamental and ancient divide, the eternal conflict between Puritan and radical. He who is not a Puritan in his youth has no heart. He who is still a Puritan in his maturity has no brain. Puritans represent the Inquisition's traditionalist core. They view themselves as the righteous arbiters of the Emperor's will, loyal not only to his decrees, but to the spirit of imperial law and religious orthodoxy. To a Puritan, corruption is insidious and ever-present, and the only true defense against heresy is unwavering conviction and absolute moral clarity. They hold a strict interpretation of the Inquisition's purpose, to purge the enemies of mankind without compromise, mercy, or deviation. Xenos artifacts, warp-tainted technologies, psychers without sanction, and even philosophical flexibility are considered dangerous tools of heresy. To wield the tools of the enemy, even in the name of good, is to open the door to damnation. Puritans typically recruit retinues from approved imperial institutions, Adeptus Arbites, Sisters of Battle, sanctioned psychers, and loyal Imperial Guard veterans. Their operations are overt, often announced with fire and authority. Their very presence is intended to instill terror in the hearts of heretics and faith in the minds of the loyal. But Puritanism is not a monolith. Within its boundaries exist multiple philosophical sub-factions, each with their own interpretation of righteousness. Named after Mount Amalath, where their ideology crystallized, Amalathians seek to maintain the Imperium status quo. They believe the Emperor has guided the Imperium in its current form, and to alter its structure is to challenge his divine plan. Their mission is one of stability, rooting out threats that destabilize the balance of power, but otherwise leaving the institutions of the Imperium intact. The Thorians believe in the possibility of the Emperor's divine reincarnation. They seek beings known as divine avatars, humans who might serve as vessels for the Emperor's soul or spirit. Thorians actively investigate miracles, phenomena, and psychers of unusual power in hopes of facilitating the rebirth of a more active and manifest Emperor. The most extreme of Puritans, monodominants advocate for a galaxy purged of all deviation. No compromise, no negotiation. Mutants, aliens, psychers, heretics, all must be destroyed, and only pure, untainted humanity should remain. To a monodominant, the ends are not just justified, they are inevitable. These groups often collaborate on common goals, but can also find themselves in intense conflict over the definition of orthodoxy itself. Even among Puritans, ideological purity is a battlefield. Where Puritans refuse to budge from principle, radicals see such rigidity as a weakness. They accept the horrifying truth that the Imperium is already broken, that it has always been broken, and that survival sometimes demands heresy in all but name. Radicals view the galaxy with clear eyes. They understand that the enemies of mankind are too powerful, too cunning, and too insidious to be defeated by faith alone. And so they adapt, they compromise, they weaponize the tools of the enemy to fight the enemy. They court Xenos technologies, demonology, forbidden law, and psychic experimentation. To the radical, the line between heresy and salvation is not so much crossed as blurred. Radicals are often condemned by their peers, hunted even, should they stray too far, and yet many operate in plain sight, hiding their true activities beneath layers of secrecy and misdirection. Others are completely open in their methods, convinced that only they see the Imperium clearly. Just like their Puritan counterparts, radicals are divided into schools of thought, each representing a different response to the darkness. Named after Inquisitor Master Zarenchek Xanthus, Xanthites believe that the forces of chaos can be studied, manipulated, and turned against themselves. They often employ demon hosts, warp-spawn technologies, and information from prescribed texts. They are among the most controversial, and often the most dangerous radical sects. Where Amalathians seek to preserve the Imperium, Recongregators aim to tear it down. They see the Imperium's institutions as bloated, corrupt, and decadent, obstacles to true progress. Recongregators believe the Imperium must be dismantled and rebuilt from the ashes, often engineering revolutions and power shifts in secret. Named after the Istvan system, site of the Horus Heresy's most infamous betrayals, Istvanians believe that conflict is necessary for growth. Peace breeds weakness, war culls the unworthy and strengthens the whole. They deliberately manipulate systems and sectors into chaos, believing that only through fire can the Imperium be purified. This divide between Puritans and radicals is not just philosophical, it is political, personal, and sometimes violently practical. Inquisitors are given near-absolute autonomy, and while this allows great flexibility in dealing with threats, it also leads to confrontation. Radical and Puritan cells may sabotage each other's work. Secret assassinations, false denunciations, and even full-blown shadow wars have occurred between Inquisitors with opposing views. A radical who employs a demon host may find themselves hunted by a Puritan strike team. A Puritan who publicly calls for a planetary purge may be undermined by a radical seeking to preserve the population for long-term utility. You do not need to look to the stars to find the greatest obstacle this conclave faces, my brothers. Simply gaze around this room and you will find such a sea of discord as to make our foes cackle with glee. This internal division, paradoxically, is part of what allows the Inquisition to endure. It is not a weakness, it is a reflection of the complexity of its task. The galaxy is not binary, it is a churning hell of nuance, betrayal, ancient power, and unknowable threat. And in that chaos, 1,000 different philosophies can all claim to serve the Emperor's will. Some Inquisitors will die never questioning their beliefs. Others will shift across the line, becoming what they once despised. But all of them, Puritan and radical alike, believe that they fight for the survival of mankind. In the grim darkness of the far future, where corruption is endless and damnation ever near, the Inquisition is the final firewall between survival and extinction. It is a scalpel in a world of hammers, a fire in a galaxy of shadows, a symbol in a sea of madness.
Pathetic mortal! Weakling spawn of a false god! I am the light that banishes darkness. Your prayers mean nothing! I am the hammer! You have beaten threaten me for now, little knight. But the war I fight is eternal!